every so often, a single idea comes along that changes everything. In 2017, a team at Google published a research paper that did exactly that for artificial intelligence. It introduced an architecture that, today, powers pretty much every single large language model you've ever heard of. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the paper that literally reinvented AI. Attention is all you need. So, to really get why this paper was such a revolution, you got to understand the problem it was trying to solve. Before this, AI models kind of read like we do, one word after another, in a line, but this had a massive drawback. So, what was the breakthrough that let AI break free from this one word at a time prison and finally see the entire picture all at once? Well, it all comes down to a problem that researchers called the sequential bottleneck. And this wasn't some tiny little issue. It was a fundamental limitation baked right into the DNA of the most popular AI models of the time. And this slide right here, it lays it all out perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way, with models called recurrent neural networks, or RNNs. Think of an RNN like trying to read a huge novel by looking through a tiny keyhole, one word at a time. By the time you get to the end, you've completely forgotten what happened at the beginning. It was slow, and connecting words that were far apart was just incredibly hard. The transformer, on the right, completely flipped the script by processing everything in parallel. Here's a closer look at how it worked. An RNN would chew on the first word, create this little nugget of memory about it, and pass that to the second word. Then it would combine the memory of the first two words and pass that to the third, and on and on and on. The key problem here is that this process is, as the paper says, inherently sequential. You literally could not process word 3 until you were done with 1 and 2. This made them super slow and, you guessed it, really forgetful over long sentences. Okay, so we've got this massive problem, this bottleneck. And into this picture walk the authors of this paper with a totally radical new idea to fix it. This quote from the paper's abstract, "This is the whole ballgame." They weren't just trying to put a new coat of paint on an old car. No way. They were proposing throwing out the entire engine. And notice that key phrase. They wanted to build something based solely on attention mechanisms, getting rid of that old, slow, sequential approach completely, just poof, gone. So what is this magic ingredient? What is attention? Let's dive in and see what makes it so incredibly powerful. So, in plain English, self-attention lets the model look at an entire sentence at once. And for every single word, it asks a simple question. Okay, which other words in this sentence are most important for understanding you? So for a sentence like, "The robot picked up the ball because it was heavy," self-attention is what helps the model realize that it refers to the ball, not the robot, no matter how far apart those words are. All right, now this image, this is the engine room of self-attention. I know, scaled.product attention sounds super intimidating, but don't worry about the name. The concept is what matters. Think of it like a lightning-fast librarian. For any word it's looking at, it sends out a query. That's its question. Every other word in the sentence has a key, kind of like the title on a book's spine. The model zips through, finds the keys that best match its query, and then grabs the value, the actual information in that book. That's how it decides which words to pay attention to. But wait, it gets even cooler. The model doesn't just do this little librarian lookup once. Oh no, it does it multiple times, all at the same time, in parallel. And that's what they call multi-head attention. It's like having a whole team of experts read the same sentence at once. One is looking for grammar, another is tracking who did what, a third is looking at context. You get the idea. This gives the model a way richer, almost 3D understanding of the text. Okay, so we have this awesome core engine, this attention mechanism, but how do you actually build a whole car around it? Let's zoom out and look at the full transformer blueprint. And here it is, the famous diagram. If you've spent any time in the AI world, you have seen this thing. It looks like a crazy mess of boxes and arrows, I know, but it really boils down to two main jobs. The stack of stuff on the left, that's the encoder. Its only job is to read and understand whatever text you give it. And the stack on the right, that's the decoder. It takes that understanding and then writes the output, like translating it into another language. Now, that encoder and that decoder, they aren't just one big block. They're actually a stack of identical layers. The original paper used 6 of each, stacked right on top of each other like pancakes. And inside every single one of those layers, you've got our star player, that multi-head attention mechanism. It's doing the heavy lifting. Then there's another little piece that does some extra processing. But the main thing to remember is that attention is at the absolute core of every single step. Okay, but wait a minute. This brings up a huge, glaring question, right? If we're looking at all the words at the same time and not one by one, how on earth does the model know the difference between the dog chased the cat and the cat chased the dog? The meaning is completely different, but the words are the same. It seems like we've just thrown word order out the window. Well, the solution is just incredibly clever. It's a trick called positional encoding. Before any words even go into the machine, the model adds a little piece of mathematical information to each one. Think of it like a unique GPS coordinate or a timestamp. It doesn't literally say your word number 1, but it gives each word a special signal about its position that the model can use to understand the sequence. So, you've got this new design. It can process everything at once, and it has a clever trick for understanding word order. The theory sounds amazing, but did it actually work in the real world? And the answer to that question is what took this paper from being just interesting to being absolutely legendary. This table from the paper really shows the magic. For the old recurrent models, look at sequential operations. It grows with n, the length of the sentence. Longer sentence, more steps. Simple. Now look at self-attention. The number of sequential operations? It's O of 1. Constant. That means it takes the exact same number of steps to connect the first word to the last word, whether your sentence is 10 words long or 1,000. This is what makes it so mind-blowingly fast. So that's the theory. What about the results? Well, on a standard machine translation test, the big version of the transformer got a quality score, a blue score, of 28.4. Now, I know, 28.4 just sounds like a random number. But trust me, in the world of AI research back then, that number was an absolute bombshell. And here's why. The previous best models, these super complicated systems, were topping out around 26.3. The transformer didn't just squeak by, it blew past them by more than 2 full points. I mean, that is a massive leap in this field. And then look at the training cost. It didn't just get a better score, it did it using a fraction of the computing power. So it was better, faster, and cheaper to train. That's not just a win, that's a grand slam. And this brings us to the final, crucial takeaway. This paper proved that an idea that everyone just took for granted, that you had to process sequential things like language in a sequence, was just wrong. By having the guts to throw that old idea out the window and go all in on attention, they kicked the door wide open for the entire era of AI we are living in right now. And it left the whole world with a question we're still trying to answer. If you don't need these old ways for language, what else can you build with just attention?